Just making sure.
Are we, yeah, mine's just very loud. They're all loud, they're very loud. It'll be a shorter walk to get up to 6. You want to sit here? And so when we actually perform, no, no mic, just the yeah. Did they know you were going to be? I don't recognize them. Yeah, I was going to say.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see all of you on this beautiful day. My name is Michael Christie, music director of the New West Symphony, and joining me today are the 4 vocal soloists that make up the quartet that is featured during Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And Toomey, Courtney Jameson, Casey Candebat, and Craig Irvin. The program we're going to be presenting this weekend, both in Thousand Oaks and Camarillo, is about unity, and it's about the themes of sisterhood and brotherhood. And I thought it was particularly interesting to highlight that because when people advertise and think about Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, the term brotherhood always comes up, a call for brotherhood. And I know of this beautiful work by LA-based composer Rina Esmail. She is Indian American, and her whole compositional thrust is about combining Hindustani classical music and Western classical music in the most poetic and beautiful ways, allowing the aspects of both to really come through in a very organic way. But it is a piece about sisterhood. And I thought, wow, I think Beethoven needs a counterpart. And so that work will also feature a Hindustani soprano named Siley Oak, who will join us tomorrow. And Rina Esmail will be at our performances as well. But this quartet it's always very thrilling to have this kind of horsepower in Beethoven's Ninth, because not only do you have the combination of the symphony orchestra, which is large to start with, and then the chorus, which is over 100 members, both of the Arete Symphonic Choir and the Pepperdine University Concert Choir, all coming together. So you've got already, you're talking about 165 or so on the stage, and then you add 4 magnificent soloists, and we're pushing 170 people performing their hearts out for everyone, especially with the calls of unity and, in that case, brotherhood. So we actually have a real treat for you today, because all of them will be singing 2 pieces for you today. So we're going to get onto music quickly, and I thought it would be fun to just have them each give a quick biographical note, and then each has a classical piece and a fun piece, we're going to call it, for you, and I'll let them pick which one they want to go. And we are being shepherded by Brian Pizzone. Hello, it's great to have you here on the piano. So, Anne Toomey, we're going to start with you.
Great. Do you want me to do both pieces?
We'll do have you speak about your biography a little bit, and then you can sing whichever piece you're interested in, and then we'll come back around so everybody gets a little pause.
Perfect.
All right.
Hello, my name is Anne Toomey. I was born and raised outside of Detroit, Michigan, and been living in and outside of Chicago for the past 7 years. So, I'm a soprano, freelancing, moving all around. I've been working in California a little bit this month, and I'm so happy to be here joining all of you. And my first piece will be Vici d'arte from Tosca. And it's an opera that is a very serious drama, where Tosca, the diva, soprano, she's an actual opera diva of her time, and this is a piece in the middle of the opera in which she is pleading for her freedom, for her lover's freedom, and to get away from the horrors of Scarpia. So.
So beautiful. It's amazing with the Puccini aria that basically a whole lifetime of experience and emotion gets wrapped up in just these moments. It's really tremendous. Often people ask, I think, in situations where they're going to be singing in a concert environment, but are also singing and known for singing on stage, how you feel about the difference of having the orchestra behind you in a concert versus the orchestra in the pit. How does that feel in terms of your experience on stage?
I mean, they are both such special experiences, and in the pit, within the show, I mean, you have so much more context into the moment, into the drama, into the feeling of the character. But on stage, it has this. When you're doing a concert version, it just has this vibrancy of in the moment, spontaneity that is really special, and a sound world that is exciting for a singer.
And so, what are you thinking about during Beethoven's Ninth? Because it's a special moment. Like it's all of this drama happens instrumentally, chorally, and then the four of you come in, and it's like the world changes. I mean, do you have a characterization in mind? Or are you riding a wave that's already going?
I would say I'm jumping on a train. Generally, I think that's the fun thing about Beethoven 9 is the play between the chorus, the orchestra, and the soloist. We repeat each other, we complement each other, we work together to just eventually celebrate. So it's definitely a train that I like to jump on.
All right, well, let's tell another story via Puccini. Casey Candebat has our next excerpt. Tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, I'm Casey Candebat. If any of you were here 5 years ago, that was the last time I sang with the New West Symphony. I was going to say we should lighten the mood with soprano jokes, but I won't do that. I am going to sing something from a far lesser known Puccini work called The Girl of the Golden West, La Fanciulla del West. Puccini tried to write a Western, and he wrote it in Italy, and they didn't quite get it. The most American name he could think of was Minnie for a girl, because, we all knew a Minnie probably in that period of our lives. And it's got beautiful music, and it's very film score-esque. And it comes to a point where you're in a typical kind of Western situation. There's a good guy and a bad guy. They both have different colored hats on. And they both like the same woman. And at this point, we're at the end where he is about to be killed. And he is telling everyone there to tell his love, to tell Minnie what to think and what to feel, even though he knows it's a lie, but just to kind of give her a bit of peace. And so that's why I was like, we need a joke in here, because we're going through two very serious things. But we've got lighter fare coming, I'm told, in this concert. So
the joke can be that Minnie makes the mistake of going with the tenor instead of the baritone.
Well,
so yeah, that's yeah.
I knew he was going to start this. Can I tell my favorite soprano joke? It's not offensive. How many sopranos does it take to screw in a light bulb? Only one. She holds the bulb and the world revolves around her. But how do you know when a tenor is knocking at your door? He doesn't have his key and he doesn't know when to come in.
On that note. Torni, che mai voluto bene, che mai voluto bene, ed io non tornerò, ed io non tornerò. mia vita, mio solo fior.
Okay, I see why she goes with the tenor. It's okay.
You know, one of the most special experiences I have as a conductor is that I get to be so close to the singers, whether we're in the concert environment where we're really actually huddled quite close to each other, but also a place that not one person in the audience ever really gets to experience, which is the rehearsal room in an opera. And so usually the conductor is in the kind of the front of the room, in the middle, so you're kind of looking at what would be a simulated stage environment, and the pianist is beside you, but the singers are occupying the space of that rehearsal room as if they're on stage. And sometimes you get to hear these arias.
Spitting distance.
And it just reminded me, as I've been just listening to the two of you so far, like that I am only 7 or 8 feet from that. But it also made me think, just also kind of from a funny thought as well, that I would only ever make that much sound, maybe for 2 or 3 seconds, yelling at my child not to touch something that's going to hurt them. But the idea of creating that kind of stream, that fire hose of sound, how do you kind of wrap your head around the physicality of pumping out that kind of musical energy, would you say?
Well, I'm going to piggyback this to your question earlier. So I find it so much easier when the orchestra's on stage with you, because if you do it correctly, it should feel like you're just kind of riding the wave of the orchestra. I like to sing Wagner, and Wagner, I think, does that really well, that if it fits you, and sometimes it doesn't fit. There are some pieces that just don't fit as well as others. You know, these pieces, we have to remember, were written for particular singers, and that singer is long dead, and so now we are trying to do our best to sound like those people. But if you sing something, I remember, I was telling the story at lunch today, when I did Verdi's Requiem here with the New West Symphony, it was the first time that I went, I could sing that 3 times a day for 10 weeks, and I would be able to do anything I wanted. It just felt so easy. So I knew that that was a good fit, and then you just ride that wave.
So do you think in that particular case, it just happened to be the key, and therefore your voice kind of fits naturally in that part of the scale, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, it fit like a glove. It was well-paced, you know, like, I mean, the tenor part in Beethoven's Ninth, all of Beethoven's Ninth for the singers, we sit for a very long time. Speaking of which, I hope we don't come out to the 4th movement. Because there's 3 whole movements before we even show up. We'll talk about that later. But, you know, we sit, Craig's been telling the story of, after page 18, we don't sing again until page 55. And so, you know, sometimes you have to pace yourself in these pieces. You know, I have seen operas where the singers don't do it so healthfully, and they sing too much in the beginning, and by the end of the opera, they are well beyond their reserve. And you should always sing on your interest and never on your principle, is what I was taught. And I think that's a great way to think of it. Yeah, you know, I mean, a little bit of principle every once in a while.
You can make it back.
Yeah, you know, you can make that back while you're younger, and do that. You know, do that just to, you know, that super special note, add a little bit of the principle in there. But if not, if you work on the interest, you'll have a long, healthy career and pace yourself even within the night in that same kind of framework.
Did any of you have a point very early on where you made a sound and you thought, whoa, I can't believe that I can make that much sound? Even if you didn't think about it that way, but maybe you were singing in a high school chorus or in university time where you just suddenly something kind of kicked in?
So I would say that when I was really starting to study music in college, when I sang an E, so there's a passaggi, which is the breaks in your voice. Kind of think of it as a three gear shift, or 3 on the tree car. You're in first gear, then you're in second gear, then you're in third gear. Once I really kind of learned how to switch gears right, and the note just hit right in the pocket where it's supposed to be, the sensation of that is a fully different thing and a wonderful thing that we then hopefully get used to.
But the one thing they don't tell you, well, they tell us, but we don't listen when we're young singers, is, they teach us how to shift that gear, to use your metaphor, but sometimes it's not ready to do that yet.
Sure.
Your voice is a muscle, it develops, it grows. I had so many teachers explain how to hit a high note until one day it magically worked, and I went, wait, this is what they've all been saying for years, but it worked. So my story of that was, I was a boy soprano, and I was in high school at an all-boys school singing a piece. It was called Misa Kenya, and no one knows of it, but it has a call and response. And I'd always practiced it. It was like, Gloria in eggshells, and adrenaline kicked in, and I was 15. And all of a sudden, Gloria, and you saw the conductor. I mean, because they had never heard that. I had never heard that. It scared the crap out of me. But that was, I'm convinced it was adrenaline that just made my voice break. Right. Soprano no more.
So the one artist that we don't have with us on the stage is Siley Oak. She's from Mumbai, and she lives in the Bay Area, and she's coming tomorrow. And as a Hindustani soprano, one of the things that I thought was such a special thing to learn is that, by and large, people singing in that musical tradition pick a key that fits their voice, and they sing in that key for their entire life. It's really amazing. So we should all talk to Siley about that when we're together. But that is a tradition. So it's I guess it's that same thing of, at some point, one would get to a place where you feel like, oh, the key of whatever is my key. So there we go. Let's go to Courtney Jameson.
Hello.
What is your key?
That is a great question. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that and try some out and see what happens.
I like Q flat.
Q flat, very good, yeah. My name is Courtney Jameson, and I'm going to be singing the alto part. Technically, I am a mezzo-soprano, but a lot of times as mezzos, we get dubbed with the alto part, which is fun. It's a lot of fun. Singing a lot of alto lines growing up in high school, church choir, all of that. I live in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and as part of my job, because we have to do a lot of creative things, I also teach. So I teach part-time at a local college, and then get to come out here and sing Beethoven's Ninth. So it's a lot of fun. So I guess I'll go next. Why not? I'm on the mic. So I'll be singing an aria from a slightly different composer. This is Rossini, who's earlier than Puccini, still of that bel canto era, but very, very different. The music that he composes tends to be a little bit more light, has a lot of coloratura, which are fast-moving notes, so we'll see how many I can stick into this aria. This one is called Una voce poco fa, from Il Barbiere di Siviglia. And basically what's happening in this aria, there are two major parts. And in the first part, Rosina is talking about, come on in,
We don't bite.
Rosina is talking about her love, Lindoro, who she desperately wants to marry. But unfortunately, her guardian does not like him and does not want her to marry him. And so she plays along with being the obedient young one who listens to her guardian, but if you cross her, she will not be so nice. This is Una voce poco fa.
penserò, alla fin s'accaperò e contenti resterò. Sì, l'induro mio sarà, lo giurai, lo vincerò. Sì, l'induro mio sarà, lo giurai, la vincerò. Io sono docile, sono rispettosa, sono ubbidiente, dolce e amorosa, mi lascio reggere, mi fo guidar, mi fo guidar. Ma se mi toccano dove mi debol, sarò una vivera, sarò, e 100 trappole prima di ceder, farò giocar, e 100 trappole prima di cedere, farò giocar, e 100 trappole prima di cedere, e 100 trappole farò giocar. Io sono docile, sono ubbidiente, mi lascio reggere, mi fo guidar. Ma se mi toccano dove mi debole, sarò una vivera, sarò, e 100 trappole prima di cedere, farò giocar, e 100 trappole prima di cedere, farò giocar, e 100 trappole e 100 trappole farò giocar, e 100 trappole farò giocar, e 100 trappole farò giocar,
Isn't that great? They're all kind of doing a little confab here about, oh, you took that note, you didn't do that one, and you moved that one. And I think it's actually a very interesting point about the different parts of the repertoire that you have to sing as a mezzo, right? Because there aren't many things written for mezzo, especially
Right.
in operas.
Especially heroines, main characters. A lot of mezzos just get kind of like the young boys, or sometimes the old lady, or the witch. So to have a real, woman to play is great.
And how do you find, since you've just started teaching as well, how do you find the conversations that you're having with young singers now about developing characters and roles, while at the same time they're trying to have that breakthrough moment in their own voices. Right?
Right.
I'm not talking about career breakthrough. I'm talking about like
Right, just technically.
the epiphanies that happen.
Yeah, because especially working with undergraduates, it's interesting because the voice development really starts to happen in your 20s. So we have 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds who come in, and it's like, you just got to be patient. A lot of it, learn the technique, keep growing in your art, and it will come, I promise you. And so bouncing off of that into character, I really just try and encourage people to really make it their own and to be really independent in who they are as an artist, making sure that everyone, has something to say. There's a purpose to that. That is something that, I struggled with for a while, really finding that character and being committed to that rather than just listening to people around me of the way it should be.
Yeah, I was thinking about the fact that we do have the benefit and the scourge of recordings. YouTube, you can not only see, you can hear the recordings, but now you can watch and you can see how people physically characterize the roles. And so I think what is so gratifying and wonderful when you're watching a great artist really capture the role and make it themselves is that it doesn't become a replay of somebody else's. So just proportionally, like when you're learning something, do you use recordings as a jump off point and then turn them off at a certain point? Do you never use recordings? What do you think is the...
Yeah, I usually use it early on, but right as I'm learning the piece. I try not to listen to it too much because one of the great things about being a singer is that you can mimic, but that can also be a really bad thing, right? You can hear things and want to change your technique in order to fit that voice when it's not your own. So I like to use it as a guide, and every once in a while I'll listen to some other artists, especially with pieces like that where you change what is on the page, right? You create your own cadenzas and everything, so it's great to listen for context, but I try not to listen too much.
Fair enough. Craig?
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Irvin. I'm originally from Waukee, Iowa, which is a small town outside of Des Moines, Iowa. And I currently live in Waukee, Iowa, which is a small town outside of Des Moines, Iowa. But about 2 blocks away from where I lived when I grew up there. I like to say it's kind of like being a professional surfer and living in Iowa. Because there's not a lot of waves for me to catch in Iowa, but I'm surrounded by family. And that's a wonderful blessing, especially when I'm on the road 6 months, 4 to 7 months a year is probably what we usually do when we're not in a global pandemic. So it's that's fine. Yeah. So it's don't say that. So it's nice to get a chance to come here for the first time. I'm making my debut with the company and my debut with the piece, so I'm very excited to be here. About my piece, the aria I'm singing is Si Può from Pagliacci, and actually. You'd think there's not a lot to explain because it's literally the first thing that happens, but you don't speak Italian, so let me tell you what he says. My character comes out and acknowledges the audience and says, "Excuse me, everyone, I don't mean to interrupt, but welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce myself. I am the prologue. I have been sent out to tell you what our story is going to be about like they used to in the old days. But it's very important, the composer has told me, that I tell you it's not like it was in the old days where the tears you see on stage are not real. Our composer wrote this piece because he feels that men, artists, are real people and they must act like real people. So what you'll see on the stage comes from a place in the composer's soul where he wept as he wrote this and pulled it from real life. So you're going to see maniacal laughter. You're going to see the fruits from anger and jealousy. What you're about to see on stage is real, and you get to judge what it is. But when you judge, don't look at our clothes and see what we wear and judge us by that. Judge us by the fact that we are men and women just like you, made of flesh who bleed and feel pain. And then the last line he says at the end of it is, well, now that you know the story, andiamo, let's go start the show. So now that you know the story, let's start the show.
Si può Si può, signore, signori, scusatemi, se da sol mi presento, io sono il prologo, poiché in scena ancor le antiche maschere mette l'autore, in parte vuol riprendere le vecchie usanze e a voi di nuovo inviami, ma non per dirvi come pria le lacrime che noi versiam son false degli spasimi e dei nostri martir, non allarmatevi. No, l'autore ha cercato invece pingervi uno squarcio di vita, e li ha per massima sol che l'artista è un uom, e che per gli uomini scrivere deve, ed al vero ispirava sì. Un nero di memorie invola l'anima qu'andava un giorno, ed ei con vere lacrime scrisse e singhiozzi il tempo li battevano. Dunque vedete amar siccome s'amano gli esseri umani, vedrete dall'odio i tristi frutti del dolor di spasimi, urli di rabbia drete e risaciniche. E voi piuttosto che le nostre povere gabbane di strioni e nostr'anime considerate, poiché siamo uomini di carne ed ossa, e che di quest'orfano manna al pari di voi spiriamo il concetto vi dissi, ora ascoltate come gli è svolto. Andiam, incominciate.
You know, I was thinking about just with these different styles, and then with the music that we're going to be hearing now, how much flexibility singers have to be able to execute different styles. And so, as we're heading into the next set of music, I'm just wondering, with all of the different ways people are singing, operatic, certainly Broadway, pop, I mean, how do you guys think about the way that you need to be able to sing in order to work in today's environment where there is so much different kinds of sound that people are making, if that makes sense.
So I don't know how old any of us are up here, but I think some of us were around probably at the end of there was an era in music schools for vocalists when they were telling you either had to be an opera singer or a song singer or a symphonic singer. Like someone who did Beethoven 9 should not be doing Werther on the weekends.
Yeah.
Like that should not. And I'm going to be blunt here. Now we all have to be whores, basically. But
partly because you can't have much of a career and pay your bills just
doing
picking one.
Right. So we all have had to. It goes back to the same earlier. If you have a good technique, and it should be adaptable. You should be able to, and you should enjoy it. I mean, like I love singing the heavy. I rarely get to do a comedy. But then you ask me to do a concert of Cole Porter, and I'm like, yes, when, where? Like, I mean, it's the fun stuff. And so you find the fun stuff that works for you, and you make it work. Now, I don't really like doing the popera stuff. Like when popera is what I call like the Andrea Bocelli, the Il Volo. They make a lot more money than we do.
A lot more.
A lot more. But the sad thing is they're like, oh, you can sing just like Placido Flamingo. Can you do Time to Say Goodbye? And that's my grandma's voice I'm doing right now. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. But those songs were written for an operatic styled voice that couldn't sing loud enough to cover the orchestra. So they used a mic, and thus popera was born.
Yeah.
So popera is taking, actually, most of it I think is also symphonic works that they just add a vocal line to, which is great and fun.
And they don't always make sense with the words.
No, not at all.
At all, but it's okay because it's still. I enjoy singing that stuff. I'm actually in a crossover trio group. Yeah, it's called the Serenade. SERENAD 3. It's a 3 at the end. It's a brilliant idea, but bad in practice. But we did a whole Christmas album, which is spectacular, and I actually learned a lot about this stylistic choices from doing things like that. The crossover trio. It's an Il Divo cover show type of thing I do.
Like who knows Time to Say Goodbye or the Prayer with Celine Dion. Like the Prayer was probably one of the most famous early opera pieces.
Yes.
But
I think people are you have to, like, as a young singer, I'm thinking, Courtney, that you're teaching these young singers who are confronting at age 18, age 19, age 20, how from a academic standpoint, are people able to have those different styles baked in early enough, or does it have to be segregated because of their voices?
I'm a firm believer in crossover work, this idea of being able to sing classically, but then if you want, why not belt out a musical theater piece? Why not sing a pop song?
you live in Memphis, you can get a lot of country work.
Right, yeah, a lot of country, a lot of blues, and it makes us more viable as artists, but then I think also it opens us up as humans. It gives us a lot more opportunity to kind of show who we are as a human being by having these different stylistic choices. And I think especially for young singers, it's not offered at all universities, but a lot more universities are starting to do this, where you just teach the idea of vocal pedagogy, and it's more stylistic choices between opera and jazz or musical theater.
Which it should be, because
Exactly,
it's the same basic technical idea with stylistic choices and paintbrushes you use. Another the question you asked earlier is of a moment where you made a noise and it kind of stunned you. There was a time that I was doing a performance in this the Il Divo cover show thing I was doing, and we were doing Somewhere from West Side Story. And I'm a baritone who has lots of high notes, so it's a group of 4 guys. They're all tenors, and they have a baritone so that it sounds good. And we passed around solos and whatnot, and I listened to them, and one of the guys was more musical theater, one of the guys was more of a crossover guy, I was the opera guy, and listening to them make their stylistic choices. I'm even going to just give you an example, if you don't mind. So I was singing this line.
He's very shy.
I am. And I made the stylistic choice in a performance, actually, to sing it more musical theater than opera. And like my friend Fernando like took a double take at me. He's like, "Oh my God, you made that sound!" And doing those different things has taught me different colors that I can use. Just for example, I think it's the example from an operatic style of singing this line.
Somehow, somewhere, we'll find a new way of living.
That's an operatic, more stylistic choice. Now, musical theater. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I love it, yeah.
So the musical theater style would be,
Somehow, somewhere, we'll find a new way of living.
still the same basic technique, just stylistic choices.
See, baritones have to move their hands as to what's going on inside in order for it to work. That's just because, you know. I'm glad you said the Bernstein note, because the last thing I sang here, and then I know I'll shut up, but was a Bernstein concert. It was 5 years ago. It was for Bernstein's 100th birthday, would have been 100th. And what I loved is Joe Morcheri was the guest conductor, came in, and John Morcheri, excuse me. And John was Bernstein's assistant conductor for most of Bernstein's career, and said, like, look, he really wanted Tony to be an opera singer. But then Jerome Robbins wanted someone who could dance, and you ain't gonna find a tenor who could dance like that. And so that concert really showed us, I think, a true crossover of how to do everything from his musicals to his songs. So you have to find a way to work it all in.
I'll start with Anne, with the because you've been very patiently waiting as the comedy routine is going on. And also, you've been tolerating this tree, I think, which is you've been very gracious. What would you like to sing?
Well, I'll just piggyback a little bit on what they were talking about. As a female vocalist, it is a really separate technique, I find. Yes, breathing is the same. Yes, stamina is the same. All those things, but the technique of belting versus singing an operatic high, it's a totally different space. And I actually started singing jazz and pop music, and musical theater, and then I stumbled and fell hard into opera in college. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna sing a jazz tune, a standard called "In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning." It's one of my favorites. So,
Do you want to go with Mike or no?
I'll go no, Mike. It's fine.
Yeah, they're not
It's a
cute.
small
They're not
thing.
cute for voice, so.
When the sun is high in the afternoon sky, you can always find something to do. But from dusk till dawn, as the clock ticks on, something happens to you. In the wee small hours of the morning, as the whole wide world is fast asleep, you lie awake
Get out. Yeah. No. Oh. All right, I'm not singing anymore. Bravo.
Wow, tremendous. Brian, fantastic. So cool. Just gorgeous. So should we do gal guy?
Sure.
Maybe?
Yeah, you sing.
Why don't you do yours?
Okay.
Yours is more fitting to that one than mine is.
Okay. I picked one that I thought you might know from musical theater, The Impossible Dream. I don't. This is the opposite of my first one where it needed explaining. Nah, this one doesn't.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm, and I'm laid to my rest, and the world will be better for this, that one man, scorned and covered with scars, still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable star.
I think the crowd should learn a little insight into baritone. So do you all know what the baritone claw is? Baritones are famous for, as they sing, they reach out with their claw. The lesser known is the tenor claw, where we just act like the Pope and do this.
It's because they're reaching their head up for the money.
Yeah,
You're gonna be like, give me the money, give me the money.
Feed us.
I'm singing, give me the money.
That's what we do.
And mezzos just laugh at them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's all we can do. No.
They knit in the corner.
Exactly, we bide our time. So I'll be bringing back some golden age musical theater. I'll be singing If I Loved You from the musical Carousel.
When I worked at the mill, weaving at the loom, I'd gaze absent-minded at the roof, and half the time the shuttle tangle in the thread, and the warp would get mixed with the woof. If I loved you, and somehow I can see just exactly how I'd be if I loved you. Time and again I would try to say,
So before I talk about my piece, who has not purchased a ticket yet? Is there anyone here who has not purchased? Could you get to hear all of us? And I want to give a shout out to who I think is the most important soloist in Beethoven 9, the chorus.
Oh.
I mean, they... Yeah, I see someone back there. Hello. And yeah, the chorus is, they sing far more than we do. And they work their butts off. So they're the most important soloists. But I'm going to sing a piece that was made famous by someone that you're all too young to remember. His name was Mario Lanza. There was a movie called The Toast of New Orleans, which was about where Mario Lanza played a shrimp boat pilot who liked to sing, and the head of the Metropolitan Opera happened to be in the bayous of Louisiana, and hears the singing coming from a shrimp boat, and brings him first to New Orleans Opera and then to the Met, because that's how it works. And the song was made famous by he and Catherine Grayson, and it's called Be My Love. And I'll start it sitting down, why not?
For no one else can end this yearning, this need that you and you alone create. Just fill my arms the way you filled my dreams, the dreams that you inspire with every sweet desire. Be my love, and with your kisses set me burning. One kiss is all I need to seal my fate, and hand in hand we'll find love's promised land. There'll be no one but you for me, eternally. If you will be my love.
This smoke break is brought to you by Geritol.
Hand in hand, we'll find love's promised land. There'll be no one but you for me, eternally. If you will be my
Well, just heartfelt thanks to the four of you. And Brian Pizzone, you have been our captain on this voyage. Thank you so very much. Absolutely tremendous. So I want to thank our wonderful audience here at University Village. It's great to be with you. It's great to always have your incredible enthusiasm. And for those of you watching on Instagram and Facebook Live, come on down to University Village. Check us out before our performances. We always give these Meet the Artist presentations just before our performances. Our next one will be just after Thanksgiving. We'll be presenting a performances called Winter Spectacular, featuring a wonderful, it's a large group of artists. It's going to be the Los Robles Children's Choir. Switch microphones here. Los Robles Children's Choir, Mariachi Reyes, a wonderful Ukrainian folk dance group called Chernova Kalinya. And then we have two wonderful artists that are the headliners, tenor Chris Mann and Laura Osnes. And so it's going to be a great show with the New West Symphony. But if you don't have a ticket yet for this weekend, you probably heard more singing by this group just now than you'll hear in the Beethoven's Ninth, to be perfectly honest.
We actually got paid for this, and we're doing that for free.
Right. But performances are this Saturday in Thousand Oaks, 7:30, and in Camarillo, although there are only, a handful of tickets left in the Camarillo matinee performance, 3 o'clock on Sunday. But I know that those of you coming from University Village, many of you come on the shuttle service that the University Village provides, which we are just so grateful for. So again, heartfelt thanks to University Village, not only for that transportation, but for the incredible hospitality welcoming us. Brian, Craig, Casey, Courtney, and Ann, thank you so much for being with us. We'll see all of you very soon, hopefully this weekend, and very soon thereafter.